episode 655, Working Class Bowhunter Podcast. We're down in Texas.
Old Texas.
That's right.
Dale Brisby. I'd say you're in the house, but we're in your house, Dale Brisby.
Come on.
Thanks for inviting us down.
Man, I'm glad y'all are here. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
I caught, we've been following each other on Instagram for a while.
Yeah.
And, man, 650 episodes. That's awesome.
655.
655.
But don't,
Plus or minus.
yeah, no, it's cool. Like you became like really on our radar. I think with a lot of the mountain ops, similar mountain ops family and hunting and stuff like that. And, you know, we've been familiar with you. It's like, but then you see someone that's, I mean this as a compliment in the mainstream when you see someone that's like openly a hunter, right? And it's different for you. You like the ranch life stuff. Like you're already kind of in a little further.
Right.
The animal, I don't know what the term would be, but it's like when someone's like
animal husbandry.
Yeah, but yeah, like whatever it might be, like, you know, like Jimmy John's one of those guys. Everybody knows who Jimmy John is, and, you know, he gets hate for hunting in the public eye, the mainstream eye.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, the other side of everyone who's, like, supports hunting and get it and knows what it is.
Yeah.
But as soon as, like, oh, yeah, he's going on elk hunts and all that, it's like, oh, he's our guy.
Yeah.
Instantly, you know?
Well, everybody in my demographic, so basically, you know, we care about animals. I would argue that we care more about animals.
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
And but there is, at most of the people I would say that are in the rodeo and Western industry have a basic understanding that humans are absolutely more important than animals.
Mm-hmm.
And even like biblically, animals are here to serve us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I do think there's a respect level that even the Lord expects of us, you know, and we are the stewards of this gift, you know, but essentially, yeah, so I don't want to, like, kill for no reason. I don't want to, same thing with even the livestock industry, like, you know, the dairy, for some reason, dairies will sometimes you'll catch somebody mistreating, you know, a dairy, you know,
Yeah,
cow
but
or
is
something.
that just like the one
But
in a million
that's
PETA
like,
video
exactly.
that gets out?
Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
sure, there are rats that get into different areas and they mistreat animals, but that is an exception, and that's not the way we feel about those animals, and that is wrong, and I would agree with that. But basically, at you know, at my core, I do believe that humans are more important than animals, and so I think that's where the conversation breaks down, is when people start to believe that animals are as important as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And for some reason, it seems like some of the recent episodes we've launched, and I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but people only really care if you're shooting bears or animals that they've seen on The Lion King.
Yeah.
Like we went to Africa, and that's the first time we got hate. But, you know, I was really, this sounds weird. I was hoping for more hate, kind of, because, well, one, I think when you get hate, maybe not. I might be stretching this. I was going to say it's a chance for educating, but half of them are so ignorant and don't want to hear what you're saying anyway. Like Eric shot a giraffe, and we were just waiting. We thought that was going to, like, get us on CNN, you know, and, like, and it never did. So I'm like,
We actually really we didn't get much hate for the draft, which is kind of weird.
But I repost it like once a month.
Yep.
And then the last time it did get,
it got a little
some
bit.
anti-hunters got a hold of it.
Yeah.
But we just did a bear episode. The guys from the Given Right shot the potential world record Kodiak grizzly with a bow.
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
Bears are a big deal apparently.
Yeah, people like bears, even though they're like they're the closest thing to a man eater on the planet.
Yeah, it's
You know?
yeah. I think that a lot of those, you know, cartoons really help indoctrinate, you know, kids. And my old man was
evil.
adamantly against any type of petting zoo.
Oh,
When
I
we
can
were
see
kids,
that. Yeah.
You know, it was just like it's just not. I don't know. He felt that was one way that you know, kids were. He didn't want us to necessarily be like little killers, you know, that just like walked around slaying all animals.
Right.
But on the other hand, you know, and we didn't name certain animals. You know, we don't.
Yeah.
You got to be careful naming a cow, because now you're having to get rid of, you know,
you become
Bernadine. You know, like
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So there was just a distinction that was made when we were kids, and he let us watch movies. You know, I've seen The Lion King, but there was still a distinction that needed to be made when it came time to, like, that's fine. You can watch that, but that's also your food.
Oh,
you know?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, man, you see the new Lion King, because I have young kids. Well, Eric and I have young kids. Doug, we'll see what happens with Doug and kids. But like the new Lion King's like CGI, like realistic looking.
Yeah.
We started watching. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen it, I guess.
This is painting like a false picture because I might shoot a lion one of these days. My
Yeah.
kid's gonna think I'm like Satan himself, but we're just avoiding that. But
Well, even just Madagascar, not only are they trying to, depict animals in a certain light, but then I think I can't remember, not that I've seen them multiple times, one or two, but like Madagascar, like most often they'll have a hunter on the safari, and he is the bad
he's
guy.
the evil guy.
He's the bad guy.
Elmer
Yeah.
Fudd, man, he's the dumb hunter chasing the rabbit around. It's like
Right.
that whole notion, or Fox and the Hound, and yeah, it's like you gotta be careful with that shit. I think.
Oh,
with
man.
kids, but
You have to.
dude, all right, let's get formal for a second. So, if people don't know you, like, all right, we're very niche hunting in the hunting space. Like, we're 99.9% of people are just hunters that listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Dale Brisby?
The world's greatest bull rider and the most humble. Been 90 in Maine, Spain, Spokane, Fort Wayne, and Alabama. If you don't know, then ask your mom, because I guarantee you she does. So,
Damn.
but then I also like to dabble in a little bit of bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say dabble, I have killed one thing, and that was this last September. So that was my first. I went on Cam Haynes' podcast last February, and he gave me a bow and started shooting all summer. And then mountain ops, went with Thad, and we did that hunt
Love
up
that
in
guy.
Kremling and at Bear Mountain. Brad Probst was running that, and he really coached me along the way. And last evening, an hour left on a 4-day hunt, and was able to get an elk.
No kidding. I guess I didn't realize that was your first
Yeah.
animal. Then that's pretty cool. That's big. You went big league right off the rip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that your first time with a bow when Cam gave it to you? Or have you shot a bow as a
well,
kid?
I shot at in college. I bought a bow from a buddy and shot for like an hour. I mean, I paid $100. I didn't get a draw. Like, I have no idea. I just shot at some stuff. I think one time I shot at a pig, but not missed. But it wasn't. I was not serious. It was very casual, just kind of like maybe I'll do, and like had no interest in it. Was just kind of, he just happened to be there and was getting rid of this bow, and so. But I wouldn't really call that experience.
Right.
But yeah, I did. I had held a bow before.
Exposure to it.
Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
starting with Cam Haynes would be probably obviously the best dude. But like, you're stepping up. You did Cam Haynes' podcast. Now you're doing ours. So
There you go.
like, it's just what it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
It's
gonna
a big step up.
We've
Yeah.
graduated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I mean, that's like the best way to get into it. But like, did you have like an idea like what bow hunting was going to be like before that like elk experience? Like maybe what you thought it would be, but did it surprise you in any way?
No, so I anticipated, with rodeo, when everything is getting ready, you have fundamentals, and then when the gate cracks, the anticipation of that moment can distract you, and your emotions can take over.
Mm-hmm.
So to be effective in the rodeo arena, you have to overcome your emotions, control your emotions, and execute fundamentals.
Right.
Because everything about the fundamentals is counterintuitive. And so, in bull riding, for instance, this bull's, when he jumps forward, his shoulders come up and he pushes off his hind end. And then when he lands, he'll kick with his hind end. And so he pushes off his front and he pushes off his back, lands on. The point is, when he does that and he's going forward, you've got to lean to the front. Well, that hump is coming up, the horns are coming up. You want to get back. But then when he lands and kicks, it's going to catapult you.
Mm-hmm.
First jump, you're bucked off. So essentially, those fundamentals to be an effective bull rider are counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Your intuition is telling you one thing, but you got to do the opposite. And I think that is so if you get distracted by your emotions, like maybe it's a bad bull, maybe you've been on him before and he bucked you off, your girlfriend's in the stands, or you're just rushed for whatever reason. If you don't execute the fundamentals, your intuition kicks in and you get bucked off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think anything that's really hard, like for instance, bow hunting, you know, you're going to have, there's tendencies that you have that are not in line with the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
And if your emotions overcome you, you're not going to execute properly and you're going to miss the shot.
You rush the shot or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So knowing what I know about rodeo, thankfully, the one thing about the elk hunt was it wasn't rushed. We knew I had, you know, it's like, I think they called me in late May and it was a September.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I want to shoot every single day and I want it to be muscle memory so that in that moment, you know, my emotions won't, you know, I can, even if there is emotion, you know, my fundamentals will kick in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like an override.
Yeah. And so then I was fortunate because the way it all played out, I was watching a 6x6 through the trees and my heart was racing and he was maybe, you know, over 100 yards and we were kind of waiting on him and to come up this draw, and it looked like he went back up and there was about 20 seconds where it was like, oh man, he's gone, and my heart calmed down, and then all of a sudden this 5x5 came up on me where Brad had thought the 6x6 was going to come, and so it all happened real fast and I didn't have time to
react.
Yeah, and there was no point in waiting on the 6x6 because it was the fourth day,
Right.
and fifth day on a 4-day hunt, and so I just turned and was able to get the shot, and then he ran a little ways, and we had lost my buddy's elk earlier that day. We found him a couple days later, but so I was like rushing. I was like, I got to get a second arrow in, and I had only heard of people stacking pins. I had not really ever done that.
Yeah.
And I was able to get a second arrow.
Yeah, money.
And
do you have a quiver on your bow or off your bow? It's a side debate on our podcast.
It's on it.
Yeah, see, that's why you're able to get that second arrow. I just had to make that point quick.
That is.
I argue
100%.
that. I argue quiver on's always better.
It's a Western hunt though.
Quiver on or quiver off, baby.
That's
probably that's awesome.
I practice with it on. It's just I didn't even know that there was a debate till this moment. To be honest,
I brought it up and
it's a big deal.
It stirred everything up. I'm a quiver on guy.
Yeah,
for that reason.
Yeah.
So thank you for making my point for me.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing till you just said that. But it early on I was like, well, I'm gonna probably need this. I guess I thought that that way my second arrow's right there, and then I thought, well, I guess I better just shoot with it on there all the time.
So that's how I think about it. But second arrow, did you watch this elk fall?
Mm-hmm.
You did, right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. The second one was at like 80 yards.
Yeah, he already got one in him at that point.
He was about to fall with the first one.
Yeah,
and
why not get a second one in him though?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. I thought maybe he was looking around, but then watching the video back, he was about to collapse.
He was tipping anyway.
Yeah, he was tipping.
I did that on a whitetail this year. I shot him twice, and he was probably falling. Well, he was falling, but
you never know.
Yeah, why not? We already done the job on the first one. Now it's just basically your responsibility to get it done after that, you know. But so yeah, elk are like my nemesis with a bow. Like we've killed some elk in our crew, but elk with a bow has like kicked my ass bad.
I've always assumed that, and I didn't realize like how much shade people would throw for me not doing like a public hunt.
Oh, geez. Who cares?
And
right?
And I don't care about the shade. That's not my first time.
It surprised you probably.
But it did surprise me, and I don't know why someone would expect me. Like, dude, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to waste not only my time, but anybody that's with me. I'm not going to get an elk. I have no idea what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Like, why would I not go on this hunt with someone who knows what they're doing and they know the land and probably, have an idea of the elk. And that to me is a no-brainer.
And honestly, who cares?
Well, there's that too.
You know what I mean? Like,
but I don't understand the logic.
Whatever you want to do, go do it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's almost too, it's like, that's the one thing I hate about. That's what we get the most shit for. I mean, we hunt private ground in Illinois for whitetails. Like, whitetails is our bread and butter. It's what we do, you know, and everything else is like bonus for us. But the whole hunters on private public thing, I don't really understand, because in the same breath, those guys that would hate on you for doing that, if you went to public and killed a big bull, they might say, well, you have you're known. You have these opportunities and connections. Why didn't you go on a ranch instead of going to public and shooting one of our elk?
Yeah,
It's like it's almost the same type of like mindset with it. It's like, why are you bothered by me shooting an elk on private ground? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, can you just be happy for me?
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I mean, I don't know. It's my first time to shoot anything, with it's
more.
You
ethical,
can make
it's more.
You can make more of an argument that I shouldn't have been bow hunting an elk in the first place. I needed to go shoot like some pigs first.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to go on my first bow hunt, I want somebody who's bow hunted their entire life and they know the country and walk me through it. And to be honest, I want to do that for the first 3, 4, 5 elk, maybe.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
should.
like
I just keep doing it.
And there
Who
were so
cares?
many.
Yeah, do
I
it.
learned so much, and then I'm going to go once a year, so I'm not going to remember all that next year.
Yeah, it's gonna take you years to accumulate that to where you actually like.
Right.
Remember. It's probably just like I don't know shit about rodeo. I'm honestly like.
You need to be you don't need to just go enter. That would be like the equivalent of you entering.
Yeah.
You buy all the stuff
Dying?
and you just go to a rodeo. No. Yeah, and then it's the
That
luck
would
of
be
the
the same
draw.
thing.
Yeah.
You need to get on your first 75 bulls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you ride a
Ideally.
public bow?
Well,
Bull.
Yeah. Why don't you ride a free? Yeah.
Free
just go
range
catch a
one.
wild one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it would be honestly. Yeah, it's better because you're engulfing yourself like with people that you have the best mentors. You're knocking down the learning curve by doing that, and it's gonna take you time. But yeah, I would never, dude. I don't know. Horses and bulls and all that. Our buddy Trey's a real cowboy in Wyoming. We hunt with them. We go elk hunting and bear hunting in the mountains, and we're throwing on horses. I call him feral. Trey is feral, a feral dude, and dude, those horses kick our asses every year. We're scared of them honestly a little bit because it's so far out of our realm.
Yeah.
That like when you're around like Trey and his guides and his family and stuff, and you see how comfortable they are, dude, we suck. Like
Well,
we're weak people, like ranch type people are just way cooler. Then I envy it,
It doesn't help
So-
Trey. Like Trey thinks you ride horses all the time. So right when you get to camp, he puts you
flying
on a
through
horse.
mountains.
Well, we're friends with him too, so he wants to see us fuck up.
Yeah.
He finds humor in it, like
Right.
You go on a 2-hour ride. The first hour you're there, and you're just like, oh.
See, that's different though. You would never if you came up whitetail hunting, we would never do that. We would never purposely put you in a bad situation if you want to kill your first whitetail. Like we'd help you learn.
Yeah,
But
for
Trey's
sure.
a buddy, and horses. That whole thing's different. Like we were crossing a rushing river in Wyoming, and we're on horses, and Trey's on the other side, and he goes, look for rocks, and I'm like, oh, look for rocks. So
Me and you were both crossing.
we're crossing at the same time, and I'm looking through this water going this way while we're going across, and I'm looking for rocks. I'm like, what am I supposed to steer this horse around rocks? And the water makes you feel like you're falling off, and he's filming us. I look up, he's laughing. I'm like,
He's
oh,
laughing
definitely
his
don't
ass
look for
off.
rocks. That was a side quest story, but
That's funny.
anyway, that shows how out of the realm of things we are when we're with him and the
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, cowboy scene, I don't know what the term would be, but yeah, like it's different though. We don't have any experience with that, but the best way to do it is just do it,
Right.
or be around people that
Yeah.
do it. But
How would you say the adrenaline rush is elk hunting compared to bull riding?
like in the moment of the shot
Yeah.
to ride in the bull.
Yeah, so the moment leading up, really, I can speak more to the 6x6. That controlling your emotions. The 5x5 came up, and that just happened so fast, and it was right there. And I feel like I was more effective because I didn't have that anticipation. Yeah, super similar. It's you're doing a lot more reacting, but again, there's just always a set of fundamentals that you got to go by, and the more you've prepared, the higher your chance of being effective. It's the same thing.
And the chances that elk stepping on you are significantly less. So that has to help.
Yeah.
Just be like getting
Yeah, your risk for injury
Yeah.
is way
Trampled on
different.
by
So
them.
there's less of it's more of a fear of messing up,
Yeah.
than it is just like in
Breaking
rodeo.
something.
It's not only do I want to, win, but I also don't want to die,
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
because that inevitably,
Checks out.
especially, you rodeo long enough and you see people get hurt. You may have, I don't want to say that we were tight friends, but I've definitely shaken the hand of multiple people who have died in the arena.
See, that's crazy to me.
You know, but it's not that many. Like I can count the 2 of them that it was on one
really?
hand, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
I hate to say it's that few, but still, you know, but.
Well, it was just, I'm descriptive like that because Cole and I were at a booth once and somebody was like, no, I don't ride. I lost too many of my friends.
Oh,
it's
I got you.
Hold on, buddy. It's like maybe one person a year dies in rodeo. Like it's a very low number,
That's
you know.
surprising though, like not knowing, I would think it would be higher because, I mean, when I'm watching it, I'm like, baddest dudes on the planet.
Yeah.
It would be, you maybe hear of one. It could be 2 or 3 on like a really bad year, but not,
Right.
it is not just a common thing for people to just die in a rodeo arena.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't just happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. Just like, for instance, you know, rally car racing. It
Well, yeah,
can
you can be
happen
hunting
if
mountain
you-
goats and
you
fall
know,
off a cliff, you know,
Yeah,
or
people-
you can get attacked by a grizzly bear, or you can.
Yeah, there's a
like,
deer hunter just doesn't live far from here. He wasn't hunting deer, but was in the mountains and a tree fell on him and he passed away.
See, that's
you know,
crazy.
like,
Yeah, like
there's
anything can happen, yeah.
anything can happen, but in rodeo, you know, injuries in general are more common.
Sure.
You know,
Oh,
with
yeah.
with the rough stock and so it does cross your mind.
So
you
now
know.
you got to think, if you're wanting to continue bow hunting, I would feel like shoulder injuries got to be common, right? In rodeo, is it like?
I have had. I'm still recovering from shoulder surgery. I dislocated it 5 times, and right before that I had collarbone surgery. I had broken it 3 times, and so yes, I would say yes.
Yeah,
It's a big part of it.
So that's the thing, we always joke around. So one of our buddies, Lee, is like, he did rodeo stuff in college out of Iowa. I don't know, Iowa has a rodeo
Iowa
team,
State,
which
yeah.
Iowa
surprises
State.
me, but you know, it's like we always kind of talked about it. Doug always says he wants to get on a bull, and I'm like, nah, man. Now, like, if we're out for bow season, that really screws us,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do it. I don't want to miss bow season. Like,
I use a crossbow.
I broke, well, easy, and you know, it's like, I've broken my collarbone riding BMX and doing that stuff. I just know how. I don't know. Maybe I know or don't know how to fall, but I just couldn't. It just looks like a shoulder prone injury sport where you're gonna get on one,
Yeah.
break a collarbone, and then there's
Y'all
your
know
trip.
do you know who that guy is on that screen right there? Eddie Gallagher. He's a Navy SEAL.
Oh no, I saw that. I haven't gotten to that one.
He's
yet.
a Navy SEAL.
I thought it was
and
Cerrone at first.
he
for me.
had he's 8 combat deployments, like just a very rough individual. He was going to get on a bull. He was our previous podcast guest
yeah.
here, and he was going to get on a bull, and we put him on the bucking machine, and he went to, and the first thing he went, ugh. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Why'd you just grimace?
What's that?
And I was like, before I put you on this bull, and he was like, well, my shoulder, my rotator cuff, and started going through this list of things that had happened to his shoulder. I was like, hold on. Shoulder injuries are very common.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to land wrong or get hung up or get stepped on, you know, it's 3 possible ways, just super easy.
Yeah.
And he was, anyhow, essentially then after that, I talked him out of it just because, just like what you said, like he makes his money teaching people how to shoot and
Yeah.
training courses.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's going to be a pretty big hamper on your job, but
Yeah.
so
yeah.
he didn't get on one, but yeah, no, that you kind of hit the nail on the head. Concussions are pretty common,
Mhm.
you know. For any type of knee or leg or ankle injury, you kind of got to either get stepped on or land a certain way. So those can happen, but yeah.
That's the thing.
Mainly
Like,
upper body.
yeah, it's always fascinated me. Like, I love watching it, you know. And fun fact, we're from a little. Maybe you looked it up, maybe you didn't. I'm not expecting you to. New Windsor, Illinois, is known for its rodeo.
Mm.
So the New Windsor Rodeo, it's in like its 80. Oh, I should know this. 86th year.
Wow.
Something like that, yeah.
It's like a big thing. It turns
Yeah.
our town upside down, and we sponsor the rodeo, and it's,
No, that's awesome.
it's
yeah.
cool.
I haven't heard of that particular one, but I mean, that's, yeah, the rodeo is, what's fun about being a rodeo cowboy is you're going to these different towns, and that is their party for the year.
Yeah.
One of their, you know,
Yep.
for a lot of, especially a lot of these small towns in Texas and all over the country, really, like the whole town gets together. You know, the committee that puts it on is usually volunteers from the community.
Yep.
And they'll have a concert, a dance maybe, and like I said, they all look forward to that one time a year. And dating back to 86 years ago, 87 years ago, that's always been. The people come from all over to either compete or watch people compete, and that's their one party for the. And we get to go to 2 or 3 of those a weekend.
See, I'm envious of that, man, because when I see like people in the culture of it, I think rodeo culture and hunting culture, the more I think about it, has a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Tradition and just family value and community and like brotherhood, and I think there's a lot of that there in both from my perspective. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but
right.
You just see that, and it's like just the culture of like what the rodeo brings. It's like, man, I wish I kind of grew up more in it, you know. And I'm thankful hunting, obviously I love it and never change that, but you know, it's like makes me like going hanging out with Trey and doing the cowboy thing. I'm like, just so cool. I want to be cool.
You get that cowboy feel.
Yeah, I want to feel that way, but I just know what I am, and I'll just continue. I'll do my bow hunting, you know. Right. But it's cool, man. It's just cool what it brings. But okay, so we got this elk in. Any interest in like Midwest whitetails? Anything else? Like what are you thinking about?
Man, I've had a couple of people approach me about different hunting trips, and I love hunting, you know, but my schedule is just so crazy. Yeah, and so I've got some deals that I travel for. My main deal is like we're making content all the time, you know, and so we make videos. Well, then I'm also having to like run the apparel company, and I've got about 9 booths that I go to with the apparel company a year. And 9 big ones. It could be 12 or 15, but we've tried to like say I should be in Florida right now. Florida FFA convention. It's a big booth for us, but I just needed to be here filming and doing more.
You need to be here with us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had this podcast, so I didn't.
Too big to miss, right?
and so anyhow, I would love to go on more hunting trips. It was crazy when Mountain Ops called about the elk hunt. Me and my buddy Dusty were looking for a bow hunt to go on together. And, you know, so it was just the timing of it. I had called a guy that week about going on a whitetail hunt, and I wanted to schedule a hunt. Yeah. And I go on a noodling trip, which I just got back from. I go to Alabama. That's scary. And so the noodling trip that I get to film, and now this hunting trip with Mountain Ops that I get to film are kind of my two. It would have to be something really special to work into my schedule. Yeah, right. Well, that's a long-winded answer. I get it. The short answer is yes. The complicated answer is, you know, if I can make time. You know,
well, you're kind of in the right spot too, because Texas, there's so many animals here. Everything's here.
Yeah. I ran a ranch, like a hunting outfit, for a few years. And we hunted all the time. And so I really did get I got a lot of kills under my belt. Like, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and it was my job. Yeah. And so I'm not saying I'm like over it. I guess I'm just kind of a little to the point where I don't feel like I have to go on a bunch of hunts a year.
I get that.
At this point in my life, you know, because I've got to run this company and
Well, you can see when you come in here, you guys are busy. But we talked to, so I was shocked that Cam Haynes, we ran into Cam Haynes at Western Hunt, and he was like, I listen to you guys. And I'm like, you do? Like, you don't think we're dumb and fat, you know, like what I thought? No, he's like, oh, no, you guys are a good time. Yeah, just fat. Yeah. And then we were talking, so we did a podcast a few weeks ago about like, oh, you commented on one of the internet hater guy, hunting on the internet guy.
Well, see, I haven't DM'd you, and you know your profile deal is your logo. Yeah. And so to be honest, I didn't know which one you were. Yeah. And as you started talking, I was thinking like, I'm still gonna do the podcast, but I was like, I didn't know which of the
people like you didn't know me from that.
For a second, I thought you could have been that guy that was kind of hating. I was like, and I was like, oh man, I hope. Because he was describing me. Yeah. You know, like essentially,
and us
like
too, really, you know,
like I am a YouTuber, and I wasn't I was kind of trying to like take his advice and just check myself of like, do I do all these things? And he just kind of kept going down the list. I was like, yeah, that sounds like me, you know, but I just happen to be an influencer, I guess. And then I'm going on a bow hunt. Well, I'm going to film. I'm not going to go on a trip I can't film because that's my job.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to document this elk hunt and hopefully depict the hunting industry in a positive light. You know, I'm not going to be, you know, irresponsible with the way I harvest an animal.
Yeah.
I will probably give away some of this meat because as a rancher, I have a ton of beef in the freezer already.
Yeah. Which admittedly is better meat, even though people don't want to admit that. But if you kill elk, you like elk meat. I love elk meat. I love whitetail meat. So a lot of people don't say that. Like,
it's hard for an elk. Awesome. It's hard for an elk tenderloin to. I mean, as good as they are, it's really hard to compare to a ribeye.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, like, or even a beef tenderloin. Like, it's you just can't. It might be better. I don't know which one would be better for you if you want to go down the cholesterol conversation.
Yeah, we're not worried about that.
I gotta have a ribeye myself, but
yeah, and I get it.
But anyway, I do love elk meat for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
So, anyways, I was going through that checklist, and then you chimed in. You're like, "Man, I got to be honest. You sound like a hater." I was like, "Thank you, thank you," because this guy does sound like a hater.
Yeah.
And it just, I'm not sure what made him say that about it. You know, if it wasn't jealousy or what.
Yeah,
or
there's
pride,
a lot of speculation
maybe.
on that one. You know, we got a lot of props on the episode for not losing our like tempers with it. But no, I think his point was from a good place, I think, but I don't know. He never really got to a point, but I appreciate him coming in and trying.
Yeah.
I mean, he came into a spot where he's outnumbered in our house. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it took balls to, like, come to us and say that in front of us, you know. But he never got to his point on, like, what he was really trying to get to. But Cam Haynes, you know, since he listens, you know, he reached out. I'm like, well, that's still crazy, you know. But we were talking with him about, hey, you ever want to do a Midwest whitetail hunt? Like, come to the Midwest. We have the place. We can find ground. We have ground. And so I guess I'm saying if we can line that up, if Cam came in and you came in at the same time, we could definitely be a content powerhouse. Yeah. And we'd have a damn good time. So that offer's on the table.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I've always loved hunting, and I do. If I can work in, you know, a second hunt into my schedule, like I would love to.
Yeah, so you'd be looking like if you're going to do a Midwest true whitetail hunt type experience, you know, like what everybody dreams about for a big, heavy-bodied, like corn-fed whitetail, like first week in November is like got a special aura in the air. Really? It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like you get up, and God, I hate inviting people from Texas to Illinois because I get it, but that's all we got. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything else sucks.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But that's an experience, man. Like, and maybe that might not even be as like an interest on your radar. That's kind of I'm throwing it out. I'm curious if you've ever thought about that.
No, I'm definitely interested in just like schedule wise. So like first 2 weeks of December, first week of November, first two full weeks of December are my two biggest booths of the year. So you know.
So what shows are these all at then? Are there FFA shows and like
so the one in November. Sometimes it falls on Halloween.
Oh, gotcha.
So that would work, you know, on those kind of years. I think this year it falls the first week of November, but it's essentially the National FFA Convention.
Oh, I got you.
And so growing up, my dad was an ag teacher, and when you're in ag science classes, you can there's this it used to be stand for Future Farmers of America, and now it's just FFA, but you've got all type of speaking events, and that's where guys will in high school do the stock showing, you know, like maybe show a pig.
Yeah.
That's a CDE, career development event. There's leadership development events where you can speak and do speaking contests. Well, anyways, the National FFA Convention is the culmination of all those events at the state level. If you win there, you go to the national. There's like 50,000 essentially ag kids that go to this event. And I was in FFA growing up. I was a state officer, blah, blah, blah. That means nothing except that I've got a relationship with the FFA, and that those kids are like my audience.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah.
And so I go there, and for 3 days, I'll stand in my booth. It opens at 8. It closes at 6. For 3 days in a row, 10 hours a day, I'm just standing, you know, taking pictures, high-fiving.
Yeah.
and you know, some of them will buy some apparel, and so that's the one in November. That's my demo. If you're a parent out there and you got, you know, kids in high school, the FFA it is the best kept secret for kids in the USA. Like, it is.
I don't think my high school even had it.
No.
Some of them don't. You know, if you find it, if you have a little rural area, a lot of those will have it. And my dad being the ag teacher, like, I was just like, that's what I did. Yeah.
It was very small at our school and growing up, and now they just built a huge, like, 50,000 square foot facility just for the FFA at our
I'm jealous
local
of
high
it,
school.
you know?
Yeah, so it's getting a lot bigger at our local high school.
Yeah. There's all types of things that you can do in FFA. You know, sometimes it's in line with shop class, and
Yep.
you know, like, kids will build a trailer. Kids will, but what I loved about it was the speaking events. And so one of those events, I'll just give you an example. It's called extemporaneous speaking. And you walk into a room, you grab a jar, you pull out 3 topics, and you pick one of the 3. You got 30 minutes to prepare a 5-minute speech, and then you deliver the speech in front of some judges. And that to me was so fun. Like, being able to, you know, you do a little bit of research on the topic, but then you kind of BS your way through.
Right.
And
It's kind of like podcasting a little bit.
You've got to think on the fly.
Yeah.
It's not a prepared speech because you got to make it up right then.
Right.
Then you've got to get over the fear of the public speaking part.
Right, yeah.
And so those kind of things were just super fun to me.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that challenge. But you wear official dress, quote unquote, and it's these blue corduroy jackets with black pants, and a lot of people would view you as a nerd, and so there's a lot of people that would go through and they see these nerds in FFA.
Yeah.
And if you can get over that, it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, see, I can relate to that because, like, I wish I would have done, like, Boy Scouts, but you know what I thought? I thought they were all nerds.
Yeah.
You know, that's not cool. I mean, in, like, grade school, you know? And I got looking back, I'm like,
Now you can't
we got to
tie
fix
knots.
that. You know? What's that?
No, you can't tie knots.
I don't know any knots. You know? It's a true shame.
My dad was like, I guess looking back, he was good at, he was an Eagle Scout. At the time when he became an Eagle Scout, it was the youngest anybody had ever become a Eagle Scout. And so, like, I was in Boy Scouts because he was an Eagle Scout, and he was also a bow hunter. He was like all the nerdy things that, like, people didn't want it, but he was a cowboy, and
Right.
you know, so I guess that wasn't super nerdy. It is to some people. Like, cowboys are, you know, looked at as like
Really?
idiots, I guess. Yeah, like like rednecks. Like, some people would lump a cowboy into like a redneck type.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can
Category,
I've always
you know?
envied it a little. Like, I've always thought it was cool. You know?
I
But-
think hunters are so close to, you know, nature that they can. It's so much more in line with the
that's
cowboy
true.
way of life that I don't think, you know, the same way that cowboys feel about hunters. You know, they're both very in line with nature and
There's a respect.
the outdoors.
there.
That there's a very much a respect level. you
Yeah,
know.
for sure. Well, I wasn't like one of 2 hunters at, like, a city high school, and I remember, like, getting shit from goth vegan chicks in high school, and I just leaned into it.
Yeah.
You know, I was like the band kid that wore Hoyt bow hunting shirts,
Yeah.
so it's like didn't. I don't know.
That's awesome.
It didn't
Yeah.
add up, but
I think, you know, like, thinking of like an airport, for instance, you know, if you're on a flight with just a mixed bag of individuals, you know, if there's an experienced hunter and an experienced cowboy, they would probably gravitate towards each other in a setting like that and have a lot of respect for each other.
for sure. Well, especially more in like the western and southern style hunts, like Southwest. Sometimes the cowboy and the hunter could be the same dude.
Yeah.
Trey's, you know,
Yeah.
has a ranch and an outfit.
Yeah.
You know, so he's doing both. So there's some
Yeah,
crossover the more you go west. For
Most
sure.
cowboys are gonna have a gun in their truck, and then a lot of hunters may sometimes ride a horse to pack out something.
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
So,
For sure. Yeah, you can. A lot of them spots you can't. I mean, you can hunt out west, but when I realized I killed an elk out in Wyoming, and we were quartering this first dead elk I've ever like looked at. And I
yeah,
had an idea of like how big they were, and then we get up, and I know you had the same thing with your Utah bull.
Mm-hmm.
I got up there, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is daunting. I thought, you know, not this big. I didn't expect this thing to
Yeah.
be this big. And we had mules and horses, and we quartered this thing out. And me and my buddy Franco, we get this thing all cut up. I'm like, he looks at me and he goes, makes you realize all those backcountry guys that come way back in how much meat they're not taking out. And I'm like, I never.
Yeah.
Now I can see that,
Yeah.
which I like to think that not all, but there's certain things you don't have to take. You don't have to take it depends on state, but I know the neck meat, the rib meat, you don't always have to take that. And we took everything because we had mules and horses.
Yeah, that was one thing that I liked about. I mean, we had to walk our stuff out about a mile, but still, like, that's pretty manageable to get to a car.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. Yeah.
And so that was one thing I liked about the private land deal, that I knew that we'd be able to get something reasonably close.
You can get a side by side in there if you have to.
Exactly.
And it's fine. Yeah, it's daunting, man, like that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it'd be significant. Get the bug salt gun. It'd be significantly less fun. I mean, you could do it right in the backcountry. It'd be like a memory you never forget. But a lot of guys, like, I think exaggerate things for a story. Like, I was 9 miles in. I can elk out 9 miles by myself. It's
By
like,
myself,
did you?
one go.
Did you?
that did you? Yeah. And that's I can respect that for sure. Like, I can see why. I also just don't, being brand new to it, like, I'm gonna not have a lot of pride attached to my, so, like, I don't have to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's
which
cool.
I see as a blessing. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna be pretty humble about it. I'm gonna walk in there with, my hat in hand, and I don't have to have that attached to my story.
Yeah,
and I think that a lot of people, for instance, maybe the guy the hater on your podcast, like, he feels that you have to have that attached to your story, and I don't know. I think that's, and I can see, for instance, Cam, like, you're also, if you can go to those links, he also is going to get to harvest elk that I'm not, I had a 5x5.
Yeah.
That's this little guy, and he's gonna respect that about, especially being my first hunt, but he's going to be able to go in there and get just crazy sized elk because of but not only is he, superior in all, like, physical aspects, he also knows what to do when he gets in there.
Right,
and I just don't. And I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I'd for sure not like to waste mine to go, even if I could get 12 miles in, up and down. And
what do you do once you're there?
What do I do once I'm there? And
I'm the same way, man. That's terrifying to me, going by myself.
But, dude, I think that says a lot about you, like, admittedly, and I'm sure some of that comes from the rodeo. Because, dude, if you threw me out here and got me next to a bull, I would crumble, man.
Yeah.
But it'd be different if I was like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm scared right now. Walk me through this. Versus if I went in there, I'm like, let me get on this thing.
So that's
just made a fool of myself.
That's the rub. Yeah, and I think that's where people really get rocks thrown at them, is if, being on my first elk hunt, I did truly act like, and everybody, and that's the joke we get to make. Everybody knows a Dale Brisby, someone who, talks about killing big elk that maybe never has, or someone that, in any industry, when you show up to somewhere, even if you do know what you're doing, if you act like the expert, it really is something a turnoff for most people.
Oh yeah, it can be a problem, especially if something goes wrong. You just look dumb. So I don't know, like, working in, like, blue collar jobs, I feel like it's always better to be like, hey man, I don't know, show me how to do this real quick so I don't get made fun of forever. It's like just a better way to go about things.
But one thing I bet you guys, like, get a lot of opinions on that I probably have I don't want to say it's controversial, but I don't even care about, like, high fences, to be honest.
What? Yeah, I think my perspective is changing the more as I grow as a hunter, and have kind of, like, learned things about, like, the industry of it and, like, conservation. Like, Jimmy John really came in and laid it out. It's a piece of livestock. It's art. It's beautiful, and that's what he's buying when he does a high fence hunt.
Yeah.
But I used to maybe have a strong opinion on it. Like, if someone went in the earlier days of the podcast and heard us talk about it, it might be maybe 180 from, like, what I might talk about now on it. Well, it's a decade of recording and growth, and so of course it's going to change, but
yeah,
I don't see a problem with it.
I can see once it gets down to a certain size, like, it is just like
an ethical issue,
a canned hunt, you know, and even, I guess, like, that's where I feel like somebody could make an argument, but, like, especially, like, once you get outside of a certain range and it's a big enough place, like, that deer's not going to travel further than, he's not going to walk the fence line anyway.
No.
Right.
No, he doesn't.
So
know the
they're still
fence is
smart. It's not like
They're
it's-
smart, and if there's any sort of brush at all, like he's not gonna, what is it, 200 acres during the rut that they're not gonna go outside, or no, outside of the rut. They don't live outside of like a certain amount of, and then the rut they may travel a little more.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
like I got one buddy, they got like a 10,000 acre place,
Yeah, that deer's not seeing a fence.
and he said that they'll count it. Sometimes they count it. I don't know what time of year, but in a helicopter,
Mhm.
it's like, man, we've seen deer from a helicopter just counting. They're not hunting them, but
Yeah.
that we've never seen even on a camera.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I believe. I
And
kinda,
it's
That's
like,
cool.
and so now all of a sudden, okay, then why are they just want to control the genetics?
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't feel like that's just the most evil thing in the world.
no, I think
Personally.
yeah, for sure. Because we've had in the last 10 episodes, we've had some conversations about this, and that definitely does change things. Like, you know, a lot of it's just a conservation practice on a large ranch. You know, like I shot things in Texas for the first time in January. I shot a bunch of does and some hogs and stuff, and some guys I was with shot some bucks and everything. And I was super ignorant to like the conservation practices of like a Texas ranch, and it was a massive ranch in South Texas. And we were driving through, and I've never seen more deer in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, a bunch of does out here, whatever. He's like, yeah, you want to shoot a doe? And I'm like, yeah, if you need me to shoot a doe, I'll shoot a doe. He goes, yeah, I got to shoot 60. That's a quota, you know, a real like conservation practice quota. They had to shoot 60 for the health of the overall deer herd.
Right.
So we get in the blind, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna try and shoot 5. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna shoot 5 does. And he's like, and my buddy Joe's with me. He's like, yeah, I think you're gonna shoot your first one here in about 2 minutes. And I look up, and here comes some does, and we shot 5 does in 2 hours. But
Yeah.
we have to do that there. But the deer there are healthier because of and I don't know if it's considered high fence. Like what makes it not high fence? Because it's a massive
question.
ranch.
Yeah,
I don't
There's
know.
a fence around it.
It probably wouldn't even be considered high.
Well,
I would say it's not high fence, but I don't know like what makes it high fence or not.
Like the 8-foot fence.
8-foot fence is high fence, but what if it's 50,000 acres? I don't know how big that ranch is. I don't.
Well,
wanna say
then
the
you're
ranch
just
name,
I mean, that would be low fence. If it's like a cattle fence, that I'm referring to the ones that, like, when I say that one that was like 10,000 acres, like this place is it is it 8 foot that a high fence is, or is it 7? 7 or 8.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like the deer can't jump out.
Yeah, see, I think the problem with I don't care if somebody goes there. I think the problem with the internet perception of it is people shooting high fence animals. One, on the ethical side, which 10,000 acres is ethical, it's still fine. But I think claiming or ignoring the fact that it's high fence.
Oh, maybe just like,
Look at this buck I shot,
like free range.
and not mentioning like it's high fence.
Well,
I think that's where the issue is.
I think a lot of people too is they don't realize, like you just said, that
yeah, but I mean,
like,
even then,
we
like,
didn't see that deer in here, you know, because it's 10,000 acres. Like a lot of people think it's like, okay, here's 50 acres of high
Yeah,
fence.
he's in
and
there somewhere. Go kill him.
I'm gonna.
Yeah,
shoot
that would
changes
be
it.
like a canned hunt.
That's a
yeah,
common
right,
thing.
right.
Canned hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, that changes things for
and
sure.
and even then, you know, it's just like, it's kind of like the cattle thing. Like, all right, if that's how somebody wants, like, I wouldn't do that. That is something I would not do. You know,
Yeah.
find 50 acres and just like,
Yeah.
But it's kind of the livestock conversation. You know, at the end of the day, like, should they be allowed to do that? Well, yeah, probably. Like,
Yeah.
if they're allowed to harvest, because it is still just as, I mean, when you, if anything, like, they're probably going to get a pretty good shot on him. You know?
Right,
yeah.
right,
He
right.
ain't going to suffer. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's
But I guess that's where the conversation could begin, you know,
Right.
in my eyes. But
For
once you
sure.
get, I don't know, 1,500 acres, bigger than that, to me, that sounds like you're not going to just walk out there and kill an animal.
no,
in
no.
1,500 acres.
You'll be there a few
Yeah,
days.
it's not like
You're
he's
not
got
gonna
nowhere
be-
to go and he can't zig or zag you, you know. But
You know, somebody may have an idea of their pattern if they're watching cameras and doing all that, but you're not going to just walk out. Like, you may not kill him.
well, there's going to be an
Might not
instance
even see
somewhere
it.
on public land where a guy has a better bead on a deer than in a 10,000 acre ranch. It could happen. It's an argument that's dangerous to get into, but it's like as we become more educated and experienced in the hunting world and kind of like get to like talk to people with different perspectives, I care less about it as long as it's ethical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I
know?
guess for more clarity, whenever I said I managed that the place I managed was high fence,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so an oil and gas company bought it so that they could drill for natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was just a big, and they didn't want to own it. And so they needed someone. So my family and I, like having a ranching background and experience, they hired us to kind of run it and make sure that the land and everything was kept up. And we also ran livestock on it
Mm-hmm.
for the ag exemption.
Okay.
And so part of that, you know, they did begin to hunt it after a few years, and there were no, like, it wasn't stocked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so it was just like, it was just a high fence place with normal deer in it, you
Yeah,
know, very, you know, like
They were there.
128-inch whitetail, you know,
Yeah.
it's not just like big monsters walking
It wasn't
around.
250s everywhere. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which that part's neither here nor there, I guess. But essentially, like, it was a little uncommon of a situation of what you'd expect from a high fence place, and that was just something I learned taking, you know, people. And there's really thick East Texas brush, and yeah, you just now the hogs, like, you'll see the same hogs over and over, and so
The hog thing down here is what blows my mind, man. Like,
yeah, those were
you guys have. I mean, it's year round. Like, I would be mopping them up, but
and that's what we did on that place, and that's one reason. We were just constantly killing hogs, and then we did have to harvest quite a bit of does, you know, to maintain the MLD permits, and essentially you're in charge of just managing that ecosystem.
You're the conservation model for that ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that place was 6,000 acres.
Yeah.
And I guess I just learned watching it, just like, that's just plenty big for
That's
there
so
to
much.
not. That's so much.
That's so much.
You
People
know,
don't realize how much that is. I think until you go somewhere like, well, people also realize this, like South Africa, the conservation model is on the ranchers. Like, you know,
right? Yeah, it's up to them.
Yeah, it's not the North American model of conservation that we're all familiar with. You go down there and it's governed by the property owner. And without the money from hunters going in, they'll just kill all that stuff and just run cattle on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, because it's eating, you know, it's taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want you don't want 5,000 Impala run on your massive, well, you could just shoot them all and run cattle because there's more money.
Right.
So, like, people don't really understand all that. And some of the ranches there are, I mean, from 5,000 to, I don't know, I'm sure 100,000 acres in spots, I don't know, or hectares or whatever the hell they have. But
Right.
yeah, it's just different. It's just different.
I wished I'd have gotten more into bow hunting then, you know, and that's what made me at least buy that bow from my buddy,
Mm-hmm.
because my dad was running that place in college, and when I was in college, and so that's what made me buy the bows. I was like, I'll get out, but I just never did. I was rodeoing too much. I mean, that's been my number one, and that's another reason why I only go on, you know, the fishing trip, the hunting trip a year, because, you know, my world has always been every weekend we're going to rodeos.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it comes to like wanting to now, and I get to, again, you go to a rodeo, it is that town's party.
Yeah.
So you're going to 2 or 3 parties a weekend.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys do get into hunting, but I guess that's what makes a good weekend at the house these days.
Yeah.
It's like very much appreciated.
Oh,
For
Yeah,
sure,
for
yeah.
sure.
No, I totally get it. It's cool. Like, the New Windsor Rodeo is the town's party. It's
Uh-huh.
funny because it's a dry rodeo, but everyone just rolls it back over the tavern like a mile from the rodeo,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And it's like I always like being around rodeo people. It's like some I know are just like non-partiers, and the other side of it seems like they're just feral people, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty easy to fall into. It's a double-edged sword. You know, when you're a rodeo cowboy, you're self-employed.
yeah.
Nobody can fire you except yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can easily fall. There's nobody there to tell you, like, hey, you can't drink tonight. You can't party tonight. You
Yeah.
can't, you know, stay up all night. But if you have a rodeo the next night, you know, like, how well are you going to perform if you do all those things? You know,
Right.
it's just, there's no way that it doesn't affect you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
There's
sure, yeah.
no way that it doesn't affect you. It's got to be one of the most physically demanding sports on the planet. And for you to think that, and I've seen guys do it and make the NFR still, where they can stay out all night and, you know, not sleep, then drive to the next rodeo and perform, you know. But I personally was always one of the guys, like I had to work extremely hard and be at the top of my game to maybe perform when it came to, you know, competition.
Yeah.
That's always been my experience. And that's what made me with the elk hunt. Like, I'm not going to just go be a talented bow hunter. Like, I've got to hammer the fundamentals. Otherwise, I will not kill an elk.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
And so that's, and I guess that was why I didn't take it more serious, because I didn't want to just kind of shoot a bow and then go hunting. Like, I wasn't going to just be a casual.
Yeah.
And that's what made me with this last hunt. Like, this morning I only shot 3 arrows this morning, but they were all pretty on the money. And but every morning, like, it's June 14th. Like, I've got a long time before, but I've got to get
I think that's
some
that's
reps
important,
in.
man. I always said, like, train for a hunt like you're training for a fight, you know. And that it could just be shooting your bow or whatever else you want to do. For me, it's shooting, but it's like, little things. I put my bow hanger by the back door and a target right out the back door. So, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just simple things.
Mine's in here, so I've got more warehouse back this direction.
Yeah.
And it's 30 yards. And after surgery, I obviously couldn't shoot for like months, you know, because it's my shoulder surgery. And so my first one back, I literally used the wrong pin. I was like, man, I'm way off. But I used my 60-yard pin for a 20-yard shot.
I'm a little high.
And it shot through the wall. And anyway, but other than that, I can keep it on the target. But that's just But
Hey, we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. We've all done that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, where did Old Sun Punch, how did that come to be?
Old Sun Super Punch.
Super
yeah.
Punch.
So,
From Mountain Ops.
man, I just freaking love caffeine, and
Yeah.
I love
Yeah, same.
Ignite is their go-to caffeine drink that they offer. So they got 3 products that kind of all have one of the, you know, the nootropics to them.
Yeah.
It's Enduro, Ignite, and Yeti. And so Enduro has no caffeine but has the nootropics, and it's a non-caffeinated energy. The Ignite has a little bit of caffeine, and then the Yeti has caffeine and also like a little bit of pre-workout.
Pre-workout aspect.
But they all 3 have the same foundation of the nootropics that kind of help with your your mental game. And so I was really heavy on either Enduro or Ignite, and just kind of being a lover of all things mountain ops, because I was taking that product long before they contacted me about endorsing it, and they were like, man, let's get a drink together. And I was like, well, I love the watermelon, strawberry, anything of those 2 flavors. And so they threw together 3 different flavors, and came down, and we went with that one, and it called it Old Sun Super Punch.
Yeah, we had it the first time in at Western Hunt Expo.
Arguably one of the best flavors out there.
Well, you don't gotta kiss
A
his
lot of
ass.
people are
I'm
fans.
just saying, I love it.
A lot of people are
I
fans,
really like it.
but
I'm a watermelon fan.
yeah, watermelon and strawberry, it's hard to mess those up. And
Really
that was
is.
what I love, their pineapple. So
Yeah,
pineapple is just,
Rocky Mountain Ricky.
dude, is this a bird flying around?
I don't
in
know.
here?
That bug is massive.
Yeah,
I don't
get
know what it is.
Get the
but
salt gun.
What the
I don't know
hell?
what it is.
It landed on my hat earlier, and I was kind of
I
scared.
think it's a bird.
It's a
Might be
bird.
it's probably a dirt dauber. But anyway, so yeah, we went with but I have coined the term, 2 terms. So call everybody Old Sun.
Yeah.
And then there's also a super puncher. So
Okay,
if you're in the cowboy world, you might have heard the term cow puncher, punching up cows. And so like a cow puncher would be somebody who just, works for a living in the cowboy world. They're a cow puncher. And so Dale Brisby, though, is not only a cow puncher, but he's a super puncher. If you need 3 day work cowboys, you hire 3 cow punchers, or you hire 1 super puncher. So
Adding up.
there's probably some super punchers in the hunting world, but so yeah, with my flavor came the Old Sun Super Punch.
Yeah. No,
And-
it's
and
awesome.
We love the name for it there, but yeah, Thad called me with that idea, and I was like, absolutely. Like, I
Run it.
love
That's
Ignite.
a no-brainer. Right?
Run it.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
We
so-
Ignite, Hydrate, and Enduro literally keeps us fueled up. Normally, like, it's very rare and maybe immature of us, but honest. This is like very few podcasts we do where we're not drinking beer.
Yeah,
So-
there you go.
we kind of
Believe it or
need the
not.
Ignite to keep us rolling and
Mhm.
hydrate to recover us. And
You bet.
we're the plug Mountain Ops didn't ask for, but they kind of like got with our platform.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've known Jake Powers from Mountain Ops for a while. He did the podcast.
Yep.
Met Thad and all the great people at Mountain Ops. We roll into their headquarters and do like a workout and stuff with them. And obviously, we're kind of the black sheep of that family.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're the people that are mixing like white rum with Ignite and like
Yeah. There you go.
we're teaching people the concoctions that they're not gonna.
There you go.
You know?
No, I'm a big fan of the proteins. I'm trying to think what all.
You got
Yeah.
the
So this
ammo
morning,
and all that.
prior to, I mean, I pretty much start every morning about 4:15 with Yeti, creatine, and hydrate.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeti Liberty
Go-to.
Pop is like if I'm trying to get shit done,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's my go-to. That's awesome. But dude, no, I appreciate you having us down. I don't know what we're looking at for time.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
This is your world.
I want to ask you a question that's probably impossible for you to answer, but out of entertainment for the people. You surround yourself with some of the baddest motherfuckers in the game. Let's say that. Cerrone and JB,
Yeah.
who's tougher?
Man, it's crazy. It's almost like you hear about like identical twins that are not related,
Yeah.
you know, and they're so similar
Really?
in their mindset. So like Cerrone, he was known for the anytime, anywhere mentality.
Yep.
Matter of fact, like he got in trouble for getting in a fight at a boat ramp.
Yeah, where he
once.
head kicks that
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they used that against him in court. Like, well, aren't you the any? Yeah, he was like, yeah, but that's
It's my slogan
that's
for
in
my
the
business.
in
yeah.
the ring, you know.
Mhm.
But anywhere, anytime, and he has that mindset. And when I was training him to ride bulls, I had to be careful because he would have nodded for any bull that I asked him to.
Oh, like you want to ride this bull? Probably
Yeah,
not a
like we
good
got
idea, but
one
you do
bull
it.
that was way over a beginner's head.
Yeah.
That he would have gotten on had I asked him to. Just
kidding.
no questions asked. Like he's just got that mindset in the fighting world. And we'll roll jujitsu usually every morning. We did this morning. And so when he was here, he would come in and roll with us and train us. And he just has this very unique perspective that a normal human doesn't have. You know, being a black belt and having fought professionally the most UFC wins in UFC history, he's just a killer. He's been arrested 47 times
Oh.
for fighting.
Yeah.
So he's been arrested 48 times total. 47 of them were for fighting. One of them was he ran from the cops on a motorcycle. The other 40, because he had to write them all down whenever he
So
became like
awesome.
a partial citizen of Canada.
Oh, he
'Cause-
did.
So he had to like write out why he had been arrested. And he went through all of his arrests, and it was
Just
I
wrote
mean,
fighting and then a
number
line
one,
of arrow through 'em
it's
on.
it's officially handcuffs on his wrist 48 times. 47 of them were for fighting. Because he had told me once, I was like, how many street fights you been in? He was like, I don't know, a few hundred. And I just thought he said that. Like, you know, like
Right. Then he
kind of
just
like,
says, you
man,
know,
I'm so
yeah.
hungry I could eat a horse.
Right.
Well, not really, but I get it. You're real hungry.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what he meant. Like, I don't know, a couple hundred. But then he told me he'd been arrested. So
So how many times
if
did he
you've
get
been
caught?
exactly,
gosh, yeah.
if you've been caught 25% of the time, 1 out of 4 times by the cops, like you could easily get to 200.
Oh yeah.
So he's just so we're rolling in here, and God bless my instructor who's, you know, in seminary and been in 2 or 3 street fights, and he's teaching us. But then we have cowboys show up, and he's like, you need to do this and then do this, and then you dive over here and it'll break their arm off. You know, like he's just got this kill. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
he's just
head
like
off. He's
no, no, no.
programmed for it.
And
yeah.
he's got. I wish he could teach me every day, but and then JB has the exact same mindset, but with bull riding.
Mhm.
And I imagine it's pretty close in fighting as well.
Yeah.
But in the PBR, there's a certain moment in a weekend where they have an event where, you know, you make a short go. They'll have, in certain instances, they'll have what's called the draft, and you get to pick your bull. And a lot of guys will pick their bull for the weekend in that short go style moment. They'll pick something that's suitable for their riding style.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And JB was always known to pick the baddest bull in there. So, for instance, one of those bad bulls was Bushwhacker. A lot of people have heard the story. You know, well, JB just kept picking him.
Mhm.
He got on that bull 13 times and bucked off 12. Well, he could have picked a different bull, been 86 points, and maybe won the event.
Yeah.
Like, he walked away second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe lost the entire thing from so many events. But if Bushwhacker was in there, he was going to pick him, you know, and bulls like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally he rode him the one time, was like 94 and a quarter points.
Oh, jeez.
But like, that's why he's nicknamed the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
So JB and Cerrone are just two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
They're so similar with their mentality. And I've always wondered like what they would be like as, you know, maybe like special forces, special operators,
Yeah.
special
no kidding,
operations.
scary.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for
like
sure.
I just
for sure.
Yeah.
Cowboys like really big into guns, and so but I think, you know, everybody says like, especially with like SEALs, they talk about like going through buds, and you never know. You pick this guy to win to that's going to make it through, and there'll be 220 in a class, and they graduate with 28. You know, and it's never the guys you assume. But I know that Cowboy would have been one of the 28,
Definitely, yeah.
and then he would have gone overseas and just like
That's an assassin.
kill them all
yeah,
and let
for
God
sure.
sort them out. Kind
I've
of
been
mentality.
the biggest Cerrone fan. I think the show Tap Out. Remember that?
Yeah,
Where
for sure.
they,
Yeah,
like,
he was.
scouted
Yeah,
guys?
he was a tap out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I've been like the biggest fan since then. But I wanted to see him like do some bow hunting. Like, I'd love to see that dude get behind some whitetails.
He used to bow hunt. Like, he can shoot a bow. His wrists are really messed up
yeah, so
now.
that's the stuff I
so
don't think
it's a
about.
little. He's got to use maybe, is it the thumb release? Maybe I
Yeah.
can't remember which release that.
Yeah.
He's got to use a different release than normal. But yeah, so like he went to Cam's. He was he was episode 7. I was 6, and so I stayed over an extra day to just hang out with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot bows, and he had a growing injury, so going up the mountain he was going pretty slow. But yeah, so he doesn't, kind of like my schedule with rodeo and how hunting took a little bit of a backseat.
Yeah.
He was he grew up, I think, around like an elk ranch where they raised elk.
Yeah.
And so I think it was similar to my deal. So he had grown up around it and appreciated it, good hunter, and then he took off in this UFC world. And so now it's kind of like me with rodeoing, you know, like he spent his whole life traveling and going. And
Yeah, sure.
and so it's not as high a priority, but he loves hunting and he loves that industry. And but he races Can-Ams. He does take mountain ops.
Yeah.
And then he likes to snowmobile in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so his answer would maybe be kind of similar to mine. Like, he would love to go on a hunt, but like,
Yeah, I get it.
he's got 3 boys, and any extra time he has, he
Yep.
usually tries to.
Yeah.
Well, the good
makes
thing
sense.
about hunting, man, is like it might be different for somebody like Hem and JB. Like, the injury thing is a different deal. That's like an uncommon amount of injuries and stuff like that. But like, hunting is something generally you can do.
I think
Until
JB's
you die.
probably even had more injuries than Cowboy. Cowboy's had a lot, but JB, I'm telling, like, over a dozen surgeries, just crazy. Like, and now that he's broken his neck, like he's gonna really be picky on the kind of things that he
Oh yeah, I can
he
see that for sure.
appreciates hunting too. I don't know of any formal trips he's been on, but like he keeps a gun in his truck. He's, like the typical Texas cowboy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, as those guys get older, and maybe they're like their boys get older or whatever. Like, you can hunt together, and it's not so.
Yeah, I could see
taxing.
that
You
happening.
can change the style of how you're hunting.
For sure.
Whether
I
it's
could see
just-
that happening.
They can always circle back around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can. By method and what you're hunting, you can do it for the most part forever.
And I'm not
know.
telling you to not offer that to either one of those if you were going there. Like, they might just be like, oh yeah, I've just been waiting on the right, kind of like
The
me with
right
that
deal,
elk
yeah.
hunt,
For
so
sure.
they may jump on it.
Yeah, it's like wholesome too. It's a good way to spend time with your, if you got kids or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, like with injury, I guess there's a method to it. Rifle
Yeah,
hunting,
to
whatever,
get-
shooting. Yeah,
To get JB, he's not gonna. I assume he won't be super motivated to go on a 7-mile ruck
yeah,
to go
Right.
Yeah.
elk hunting. Just
Yeah.
based on all of his knee, ankle, leg, hip,
Everything.
shoulders, neck,
Yeah.
all those injuries. So, but he might.
Yeah, I don't know. I always just
he
wondered
could
that,
do
you know?
it, but I just don't see him wanting to put the work into.
Yeah, it's just stuff I think about. You see people that, because I always say people that relate to hunting culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we're hunters entertainment. We're not always a podcast that's going to give you like you need to. This is how thermals work on every episode. That's it gets to be like feeding medicine to people. I think after a while, where we can just be like entertainment for hunters, and then like get people that relate to hunting culture, whether they're hunters or not, like a musician. That sings country music. Hunters are listening to it more than likely. You know. So we're just trying to do that. So I always wonder when I see guys like Cowboy JB. I mean, a bunch of other guys that are in like Rogan's like probably one of the best things for hunting and shit.
A long time.
No, I would
Ever,
consider
arguably, but
I would consider that elk hunt. I want to go on an elk hunt like every year for the rest of my life. Like I shot a bow this morning. Like it's June 15th or 18th, whatever. Like I'm thinking about it for a time
for Africa next
every
week.
day.
You're more ready than he is, bro.
Yeah.
I don't have a super intense desire to go to Africa. Somebody did offer me one, and that's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
I'll tell you this, man. It's something that's super common. We hear that a lot. We went for the first time 2 summers ago, and we're going.
We
again
said the
this
same
week.
thing.
Yeah, it's like the more hunting you do, I guess the more you're into it. If you go, it changes your full blown like perspective on like what it is, and like the experience of it is like unmatched. If you really love bow hunting and you're cutting like the opportunity of like South Africa or Africa in general out of your hunt up, I think you're cutting yourself short from an experience that is just
so
incredible.
Fun. Yeah.
But I also get it though. I get it.
One of the reasons I guess like the bow hunt up in Kremling was just the perfect storm. I got to go with Donnie and one of my best friends, Dusty Burson. And then, Thad's there, great dude. Brad's a great dude. So now all of a sudden it's like this. It would be hard for me to go on a hunt by myself for sure.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the right boys around.
Yeah, you need the right
Like
community.
that would be difficult. So
yeah, like I would never be like it would be hard for us to talk you into going to South Africa. Like
yes.
with the hunt experience, it'd be. I can see why you'd be like, nah, I'm good on all that.
And I hate to sound like it's just
also
like
10 days.
It's wild to even think that somebody would turn something like that down.
But no, I don't think it's uncommon because we talk to people all the time about hunting. It's what we do, and a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't get the Africa thing. There's a lot of people that are like that, and I
don't know. I was talking about this yesterday on a podcast with Dean. Like I rodeoed, all over, and I always feel home at a rodeo. But for some reason, the half a dozen times I've been out of the country, I get so homesick.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about being like France, Costa Rica, Canada, Mexico,
There's not
Australia.
as cool as us. That's why.
I feel some people can travel and feel at home, and I feel that like I'll be in, Kansas or Iowa, and I'll feel like you're at a rodeo with all these I feel at home there. I can in Sydney, Iowa, I can feel at home, but man, like
Not
in France, in Africa, your boy would be like, oh, I need to go back to Texas. Like, what time is it? Is it what day is this?
You guys got any bowls around here?
A vacation too, or something like that. Like
I
get there, it's like it's awesome, but then you're there for a couple days, you're like I just want to go home.
I've felt like that every time I've left the country except Mexico. I went to a beach in Mexico, and I was like, I could, it's right. I felt like I was next door.
Right. Brazil, because I know like rodeo is massive in Brazil.
No, I haven't been to Brazil.
You think you'd be all right in Brazil?
I don't know.
I've been to Brazil.
I think I could be all right at a
was pretty
rodeo in
homesick in
Brazil,
Brazil, yeah.
except for the language barrier.
Yeah.
It's I went when I worked for Deere, and they're like, oh, it's fine. Everybody speaks English. And I get down there, and no one spoke English. And I was like, you lied to me.
Yeah.
So I had a buddy that I worked with that went with me, but they're going to send me by myself.
I think I felt
the misery.
The most homesick when I was in France, though. They had like a show over there, like a Wild West show. And we got on some bucking horses for, a couple days for these
like a
guys.
Wild American West show. They're trying to like, interesting.
So there was a bareback rider that came over here and rodeoed a lot. His name was Evan Jane, really good, went to the NFR, and his dad had grown up doing those Wild West shows with his dad back in France, and Evan would always wrangle up 3 or 4 Americans to go over there each year, and so one year he asked me to go, and I mean, my dad dropping me off at the airport, I was already homesick before I left, and I got over there, and there was this Mexican kid riding bareback horses, and I was getting on broncs, and we kind of latched on to each other, and he was from California. He was a horseshoer. His name was Cesar Kid Benuelos, and we were like kind of nervous. We were staying in a hostel right after the movie Hostel came out, and so we didn't know how to feel about that, you know, and everybody, you know, the guy driving us around could speak English, but not a lot of people could speak English, and these other 2 bareback riders were kind of like ready to party. We're in France, and, you know, Americans and wearing cowboy hats, we were kind of like the center of attention at these little parties, and we went into this rave bar, and I mean, it had a balcony with people lined up on it. So just imagine some cowboy hats walking into Americans.
Looking at you.
Oh my gosh, with rave music. It's like something out of a movie.
Women had to have loved you, though. They loved you or hated you.
A few of them, yeah. No, it was, like
facial hair.
At the rodeo, you're signing autographs for hours. At the rave, not so much.
People are like getting out of your way.
And man, I've never felt more homesick than that moment walking into that rave. And Caesar went to the bathroom and he came back and he said, "Man, let's not split up anymore. I felt like the Bourne Supremacy in that bathroom. I was checking." He said, "I was checking all the exits and looking for license plate numbers."
Yeah,
and like,
48 steps to the front door.
He said, "Let's get out of here." And we went back, and yeah, he and I turned in early. And but anyway, whatever. The point is just like there's places where I can go where I don't feel so far from home. But when I leave the country, dang.
I get that because it's different. Everything's different. Like the smell is different. The vibe is different. Like I felt that way in South Africa.
Food, all of it.
The food's different. Yeah. Now when you get to the ranch in South Africa, then you're like, all right, we're good.
Probably. Yeah, I could see that.
From like Johannesburg airport to the ranch, you're in Africa.
Yeah.
You know?
I think another thing that would probably make me feel guilty is like, you know, there are so many people that go over on mission trips to like help these random villages way out that, you know, don't have water. I would probably feel a little guilty, like, nah, I'm coming over here to hunt, you know?
Yeah, but you're giving them the food.
Yeah. No, and I don't, I'm not throwing rocks at people that do go over there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I personally would probably feel like I've always, knowing what I feel about like going international, like anytime like a church is going on a mission trip, I'm like, here, take my money. Let that be my contribution because I don't want to go over there, but here's some money. And
here's some Old Sun Super Punch. Like, oh, I don't have water to mix it with.
Yeah. But then again, like it's like I don't want to go, but I'll pay you to go in my stead. But and it's like, all right, now I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna take my bow. I'm gonna go hunting. You know?
Yeah. No, I get that.
I'll be there,
man.
I just won't be with you. Here's my money.
Yeah, I'm with you in spirit. I get that. I'm fascinated by like you going to France. I always think like the Western world, like how Europe views the American West.
Yeah, they were, dude. It was in a building right next to like this big warehouse. It was like this whole festival going on, and people could come in and shop these exhibits and then watch the show, the Western show, or go over and line dance. I mean, like a building bigger than this warehouse, and just the biggest line dance I've ever seen in my life. Okay. These people were fascinated with. And I've had people approach me about doing shows like a German television company. Like they were like their biggest hit show is reruns of old CMT music videos.
Really?
Like country music over there is such a thing. And even our Netflix show aired in different countries. Man, it did go bananas over in Europe.
Wow. Really?
Because they are fascinated with
like an unknown,
with the Western way of life.
I thought, honestly, not knowing that, I thought they would mock it.
No, like the people that, I mean, soon as this rodeo ended and we walked outside of the arena, these people flocked. And it wasn't because they watched videos. It was none of that. Because we were wearing cowboy hats. And
gotta get a cowboy hat, Doug.
Yeah.
I gotta go to France. Never mind. I got a girlfriend.
Oui. Oui.
Sacre-la-vie.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for letting us crash the warehouse for the morning.
Yeah. No, I hope y'all stick around.
Yeah, we can.
As long as you have us.
Rocky Mountain Ricky.
You bet.
Oh yeah, Rocky Mountain Ricky's dropping. I was supposed to bring that up for Mountain
I
Ops.
just got some. Jake sent me some.
But you have some just now.
Well, no. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
This
but you have it in
morning-
your possession as of right now.
Yeah,
we're
the box
speaking.
delivered yesterday afternoon, and
It's a high commodity.
I forgot that it was there, but I'm gonna try some today.
You know what? This is Jake. Where's my Rocky Mountain Ricky?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's our favorite, man. I'm obsessed.
Well, I didn't even ask Jake to send me any,
I see where we fall in the lineup.
and he sent me some. So
Slap in the face.
Really
Yeah.
hurts. It's awesome. It's my favorite.
I haven't tried it yet,
It's the jam. Well, it was only seasonal. Rumor has it's coming back, but I don't know.
as it should.
It should.
It should.
It's
Yes.
the best.
It's amazing.
It is. The
No
best.
offense.
To
Not
the
as good
Old
as
Sun
old-
Super
yeah,
Punch.
not as good as
Yeah.
Old Sun, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to beat Old Sun Super Punch.
it's right there.
Yeah, no, they nail the taste of all those products. The caramel chocolate, whatever Cam's protein
Mhm.
flavor is. Oh my gosh, the caramel Conquer Crunch bars
Oh, those are
Oh.
awesome. Yeah.
is a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no other protein bar on the face of this earth that tastes as good as that one.
You kind of feel guilty eating it, but you don't need to.
oh wait,
Yeah.
it's good.
It's actually
I-
it's actually good for you.
So I had to take a little break from them because, I mean, I would hammer 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah.
Like it was, because I've been on, so I like to say like I'm on carnivore diet, and then I added fruit, and I have Mountain Ops products.
Mhm.
So that's kind of,
Mm.
so that would be my, I guess, trick up my sleeve is occasionally I'd have a caramel Conquer Crunch bar,
Yeah.
and that would kind of, it really helped me in the early, whenever I was kind of getting off of carbs
Mm-hmm.
and trying to, because, I guess what happens is the carbs turn into sugar, and so the caramel, even though there's only like 1 gram of sugar in it, but it would kind of help me like, all right, well, I can't have bread, cookies, fried food, any of that, but when I'd have that craving,
Cheat. Yeah.
yeah,
Never
and I
stay
got to
long.
where I would like just cut it up and try to space it throughout the day.
Little baggy.
Instead of eating 3.
I did carnivore. I need to go back because I'm getting tits again. But I would cheat with like ammo would be my cheat, like the strawberry.
Oh,
ammo
yeah.
with milk.
I have not tried strawberry.
It's the best. That's like my go-to. That's my
Dude,
cheat. My cheat.
have y'all done the slumber?
Dude, the gummies is
No, I mean the gummies are good, but the powder.
the powder was I don't sleep long enough in a night. I feel like the powder is stronger. So like I would get up before like the slumber wore off. Like I wouldn't get like a whole 8 hours of sleep in.
Bro, dude, that's my life though. Why would you? If I
And
can
it
get,
don't
I
affect
feel
you?
so good. 7.5 sometimes.
See, I like the gummies. I take 2 of those, and then I feel like I'm good. But
Yeah.
Man,
the gummies as
that slumber. I put that in some milk with some honey,
oh,
and you gotta sure enough like, what's that deal called? A frother.
Froth.
Yeah,
You
oh,
gotta
yeah.
froth it. I feel pretty fancy because now I'm using a frother and I'm putting milk and honey
you're
into
losing
this
your
drink.
cowboy.
Bro. I got to have that,
Pinky out.
and then
Okay, I'll try that.
I'm usually asleep by 9 and I'm up by 4:30. And when I take that slumber, son, it hits for me.
Really?
Mm.
Okay, I'm about to do that.
You got to and try it for like a week because it
Okay.
doesn't. It's not strong.
just
On
take it
it
once.
doesn't have a lot of melatonin.
Yeah,
It's got the magnesium and thiamine in it though.
Yeah,
They call it the hibernate formula.
I've just been on the 2 gummies before bed. It helps me like. I feel like I'm sure you are like we all are busy brain to where it's hard to like shut off.
Yep.
And so I find like if I take 2 of those slumber gummies, I got 30 minutes to lay down and get to sleep.
If I've had too much caffeine that day, I'll pop a gummy.
Yeah,
I try to just do one. I try not to do the slumber powder and the gummy.
yeah, that'd be. Well, during elk camp in Utah, I took 3 one night, and it was nice.
You gotta, that caramel, it's caramel flavored
Okay.
with some
With
milk
some
and
honey.
honey in there.
Milk and
and
honey.
froth it, son. You ain't never had some sleep like that.
Mountain Ops is awesome. Mountain Ops is honestly like changed a lot for us. They're good people because we always joked around like when Jake first did our podcast, and we've known Jake for years before he worked for Mountain Ops. Jake Powers, when he did the podcast with us, almost not quite a year, going on a year. We told him like, man, our perception from the Midwest of Mountain Ops is always kind of like douchey, broy mountain elk hunter guys.
Really?
I feel like because Jake's from the Midwest, he kind of agreed that too. He's like, I can kind of
Because he's that.
Yeah, he's
a
from
douche.
Indiana.
He's kind of a douche. I'm just
He might have been.
Now that he's not sending y'all Rocky Mountain Ricky.
Yeah, he's a douche again.
I'm just kidding.
No, but he kind of he could see our perspective on it.
I
I felt bad
guess
saying that too.
no, I guess being like rodeo cowboy, like I picture a guy carrying a bow up a mountain when I think of mountain ops.
Yeah, I think it was just like, and it's maybe not right, and I almost kind of feel guilty for saying it again. Like I felt guilty after I said it on that podcast, but Jake was kind of like, "Oh, it's fair."
Yeah.
Just like initially, because they started, well, right about the same time we started podcasting, you know. So there was, it's just growth.
Yeah,
growth
for
and
sure.
perception on our part and
I'm sure there was probably maybe somebody that, you know, had it or wore it or took it that kind of shaped that. I doubt, you know.
It might have been people we knew that locally too that kind of
maybe you had an ex-girlfriend that just kind of jumped on the bandwagon and
was.
you just kind of associate all things. Yeah.
Douche.
Yeah. Yeah, whether it's good or not, you just say, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's been good for us, man. So it's cool to
It's
like,
actually been a godsend because we weren't taking anything before. Just our diets were like Bush Light,
Just bad
and
energy drinks.
cheeseburgers, you know.
yeah, now it's Bush Light cheeseburgers and Ignite.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We're getting there.
we're getting there. Yeah, little things.
Baby
but
steps.
No, man. Rodeo Time, killing it. Love it. And it's cool to see like everything that's exploded around you, and we're trying to
Man,
to be
I
as cool as
appreciate
you.
it. No, I appreciate it. I'm trying to have. Golly, I've thought my 150 episodes was doing good, but yeah, you guys, yes, more props to you. 655 of them rascals. That's awesome.
Appreciate that.
We just like bullshitting and talking hunting, so it's been
That's
it's been
good.
fun for us.
Pretty easy.
And
Pretty easy,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, there's a lot of work on the back end that goes into it, and like, but you know, we try to take initiative and like, we got the invite come down here. And I'm like, yeah, we'll book flights. We're coming, you know. So
Love
that's
it.
the stuff you got to do, I think, to expand and bring our audience something different and all that. So we appreciate the opportunity. And
Yeah.
Anytime, I'd love to have y'all back. So yeah, y'all don't rush off after this.
okay, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
hang
and
out.
if you're ever up our way, I mean,
You ever
you
get the
said you got-
whitetail hankering?
yeah, or if you got a rodeo in Iowa, we're not
Yeah,
we're
let us know.
Yeah, Sydney.
right there.
I don't
Sydney,
know.
I
Iowa.
like Quad
I don't
City
know
area.
It's
I
on
don't
the
know
left
Sydney.
side. It's kind of on the border.
Of
Okay.
like Nebraska.
Sydney, Iowa.
side.
It's not a huge town, but it's a big rodeo.
Okay.
Sounds like a good time. As long as it's not in November, like you said, it might.
No, it's like June, July.
Oh,
It's in
Oh, yeah.
July.
yeah, we
yeah.
can do that.
Oh.
So we can do that. Cool, man. Not that you really need a plug, but you want to shamelessly plug some stuff real quick before we get out?
Man, my whole deal is just I love that when people watch my videos, subscribe to the YouTube. You know, it's a little bit of hunting type stuff occasionally, but it's mostly, you know, rodeoing, going down the road. So yeah, I think people should start there, my YouTube channel, and then if they ever do become like, you know, a diehard fan, like if they wanted to search out rodeotime.com and wear the apparel, that's what's been the main driver of that YouTube. And so I love making content in this industry, and if I get to do that for 10 more years, then 11 years ago is when I made my first video. So
Congrats,
if I get 9 years more, and I've done this for 20 years, then I've really been trying to grow my podcast, and so and it's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of rodeo cowboys and musicians and military guys, and so yeah, I think I've had 150 of those episodes.
It's awesome, man.
Awesome, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Keep killing it.
He's the man. I didn't know.
Yeah,
I knew he was a hunter, but I didn't know how big he was a hunter. But it's cool.
Right.
Like you're kind of opening that light for. It's like the hunting culture, like rodeo culture. It all kind of like somehow ties in. So
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
awesome.
there's a lot of crossover in all three of those industries, you know, country music and rodeo and hunting. So,
Same people all on the same side. So
yeah.
Absolutely.
thanks, man.
Thank y'all for
Thanks
having me.
us.
Dale,
All right.
yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. You know what to do. Go shoot your bow. We love you.